Ladies and gentlemen, we're here.
I'm part of the Kliq, isn't everybody?
Yes! 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 I got an idea, yeah. Beat up John Cena!
Give me a hell yeah!
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Too sweet! This is where the power lies!
I am the man.
If you can survive!
It's showtime, folks!
The following episode is scheduled for one fall, and it is for your listening pleasure. This is In The Kliq.
What's up, everybody? Baby Huey here, and joining me once again is my good brother from Pro Wrestling Unlimited. It's Tim. How's it going, man?
Pretty good. Been a while since I've been on with you here.
I know. First off, I do apologize. It's just been crazy.
Worries.
I mean, as you know, you and I, via text talk about just how crazy everything's been. I mean, WrestleMania week was more like a week and a half of stuff going on, and of course, right. AEW, Impact doing their thing, and all these other promotions are getting back, putting on shows regularly. It's been a lot, and just, for me personally, just on the work front, it's just a lot going on behind the scenes here. So I've been very stretched thin, to say the least. But nonetheless, I've been, that's been in the back of my head. So I need to get Tim back on. I got to get back on. It's like, I got to find some time. And I was like, you know what? Between some recent events on TV, I was like, this is a good opportunity. I can get you on. We could talk about it, give our thoughts, and just have a fun conversation like we normally do. But how's everything going with you, man?
Everything's going good. I mean, WrestleMania is over, so that work week is done with. Having a lot of stuff to do then and whatnot. And then we just move on to see what else happens.
Yes, absolutely. So I encourage all the Kliqsters out there, of course, subscribe to Pro Wrestling Unlimited's YouTube page. That's like your home base for everything. You got the website as well, but I mean, like your YouTube page, you got the daily news, like just breaking news. You're on top of it. And I love just, you explain what's going on. You give your viewpoints on it. So it's a lot of insightful stuff. So make sure to subscribe, get the notifications. And so every time you upload something new, you'll be the first to get notified of it. It's great stuff. And like I've told you before, I just really respect just the hustle you put in there and just, breaking news. Man, I know you're a one-man machine that's just crushing it every single
I got
day.
Nick back now. We're doing
that's right.
podcasts every week now.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, please tell me about that.
So Nick was basically like, all right, I need to get back on doing content. I'm jonesing for something. And so we're just basically doing just a random wrestling podcast. We post it on Mondays for our Patreon subscribers and our YouTube channel members. And then it goes out Tuesday to everybody else.
Okay.
And basically it's just a hodgepodge of wrestling stuff. Less news than anything.
Okay.
Because it's more like topics we can talk about. And one thing that Nick wanted to do with this that we're starting to incorporate is every week we're going to tell the listeners, hey, watch this match because we're going to discuss it during each podcast. And Nick's been in a big Japanese wrestling kick, like old school Japanese wrestling.
Nice.
So that's been really fun. And Friday, we're going to do for our Patreon subscribers a watch along for the match we're going to talk about next week.
Okay, awesome. So for Patreon and people that want to subscribe, what's the easiest way? Is it just you just go to Patreon and then look up Pro Wrestling Unlimited?
Yeah, so you can either subscribe patreon.com/PW Unlimited, or you can just go to our YouTube channel and sign up where it says subscribe. There's also a button there that says join, and you'll become a channel member as well. Same thing. You get all the same perks on both either the channel member side on YouTube or on the Patreon side. Patreon's a little easier to do.
Okay, awesome. No, that's great. It's something I've been trying to explore, like, to open up the curtain a little bit,
Right.
Tim, you've been very helpful. Anytime I had like a random tech question or something, you're like one of the first people I hit up and ask for help. And so I'm still learning so much. I like to think, I want to pat myself on the back a little bit as far as, in the last year in this pandemic, I've been trying to learn as much as I can, and I've been making baby steps. And, I got the home set up now, and I can record stuff at home when I need to. And I'm still trying to learn just so much. It's so much to keep track of and process. But thank you. You're a saint for being on call for me whenever I need it. So
anytime.
So much to get into. We're going to talk about Monday Night Raw, and listen, I know Raw has had up and downs over the last couple weeks, specifically post WrestleMania, specifically with that. But before we get into that, I want to talk the latest of this whole partnership, working relationship between AEW and Impact Wrestling, and this is something that's been ongoing pretty much now. I was like, thinking about it, I was like, wow, since I think December, winter's coming on Dynamite when Kenny Omega won the AEW World Championship, and that's kind of where things really kicked off as far as, Don Callis' involvement with AEW on a regular basis on TV and, the crossover on Impact. And this past weekend was Rebellion, Impact Wrestling's big pay-per-view, and the main event saw champion versus champion Rich Swann at the time, Impact World Champion taking on Kenny Omega, AEW World Champion, and he's been kind of doing this, belt collector gimmick, or he's been referring to it. So they had the main event. Rich Swann unfortunately lost to Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega has now another belt, or I guess technically two belts, the Impact World Championship and the TNA.
This is Kenny's fourth. Now he's technically got 4 belts.
Yeah, so AAA as well, right? The Mega Championship. So
which is weird that, not to cut you off, but it's just weird that Rich Swann referenced the Mega title, the AAA Mega title, in his promo on the pay-per-view.
Yep.
But other than last May, Kenny hasn't even done much with that title. He defended against Sammy Guevara on Dynamite, and then he did one defense, I think, in AAA.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, nothing, and doesn't reference himself as the Mega Champ. Well, sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they were first doing the big say a million things in his entrance thing.
Yes.
It would save as the Mega Champion once or twice. But he wants to be the belt collector, but doesn't mention all the belts he has. This is weird.
Exactly. And that is, yes, very frustrating, I would say, just as a fan watching this and trying to get emotionally invested in this whole gimmick that he's presenting. And I'm double checking. I think, was it Triple Mania? Yeah, back in December.
Laredo Kid, I think.
Yeah, was it? Yeah, Laredo Kid. Yes, Laredo Kid. That's right. And Laredo Kid, I remember he kicked out of the One Wing Angel pretty quick. He got the 3 count, but he still kicked out, as a sign, he wasn't completely. Yeah, right after the pin. So let's just talk about this as far as, okay, so I was like, wow, we're almost at 5 months now of this whole storyline that Kenny Omega and Don Callis have been putting together. What's just kind of your initial takeaways from this whole thing? I'm now at the point where, the first few weeks, I was super excited. Now I'm starting just to feel, it's a little lackluster. So I don't know, what are your thoughts of just the last 4.5 months of what they've been doing on TV?
So for anybody that's unaware, say you don't watch Impact, you may not know that there's a working relationship outside of Don Callis being on AEW. Mm-hmm. Again, like Huey said, Don Callis showed up at that Winter is Coming show and helped Kenny win the title. But the first time we saw something big between this was back in January when Private Party showed up on Impact.
Mm-hmm.
They did, I want to say, 2 weeks, and then that was it. No other AEW wrestlers appeared in Impact, and then every week going forward until they moved to Thursdays, they had Tony Schiavone and Tony Khan basically doing a ad read or a paid promotion on Impact saying, this is what we got for Dynamite tomorrow night, which it was kind of good for them in a way because it was everyone watching Impact knows, hey, the following night you can see all these matches.
Yeah.
But they're plugging AEW hard on Impact. They're never plugging Impact on AEW. Throughout all this lead up of the title versus title, champion versus champion match, the only time I can remember this was ever referenced on Dynamite was last week. They aired one quick commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Then Don Callis briefly mentioned it in a promo. But when he mentioned it saying that Kenny Omega is going to have more titles next week, didn't say what day he was challenging Swann, how to watch the pay-per-view, the name of the pay-per-view, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I think AEW's dropped the ball because you watch that match at Rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
Great match. Super fun between Kenny Omega and Swann,
mm-hmm.
but it just didn't feel special to me because, yes, they've been hyping it up on Impact because they got to hype up their pay-per-view. It's not like an Impact Plus special or something. No, it's the pay-per-view, $40.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then you go and watch Dynamite and you go, they don't mention it ever, except for the one time last week. And I felt like if they wanted to make this thing feel big, yes, the main goal would be get Rich Swann on one episode of Dynamite with the Impact title. But they didn't do that. So plug it more. They didn't do that. So I feel like AEW has kind of just been like, oh, yeah, you guys look cool because you got our guys on your show, or we're mentioning AEW on Impact and saying we work together, but we're not going to do anything in return.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like I've been watching this and I'm trying to keep track of everything from both promotions, and I'm like, this is really starting to turn into a one-sided relationship as far as Impact seems to be doing their part promoting AEW with, as you said, the Tony Khan, Tony Schiavone segments. Kenny Omega's been making appearances here and there or pre-tape stuff. Like I remember early on the trailer with Don Callis, right. And they're doing stuff and promoting it. But yeah, AEW doesn't mention one thing at all. And I'm like, why? What's going on here? I mean, listen, I know Dynamite has a stacked show as it is. Their roster has become very big in the last 2 years. And, they got a lot of spots they need to fill with their current stars. They got Dark, they got Elevation. So they got a lot of stuff going on. But I'm like,
here's the thing. You say that they got all their own wrestlers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they could put Gallows and Anderson on the show every week.
Yeah. That's the thing. I'm like, I mean, if you were to watch Dynamite, that's it. You would assume, if you're a casual fan, you would just assume that the Good Brothers are just Dynamite employees. Or like
they're signed to, you would think they're signed to AEW.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like,
because they're on every week.
And that's the thing. I mean, I know like there were rumors, when AEW was about to start, they were in negotiations to sign with them anyway. But then last minute, AJ Styles and Good Brothers signed the new deals with WWE a few years ago, and we see how that's all played out. But
yeah,
still,
basically they went to Japan and Triple H said, "Here's how much we want to offer you. Sign it now, or the deal's gone."
Yeah, and it was a high.
And like, oh, that's a lot of money. I think it's like, I don't know if it's true, but the rumor was $750,000 a year.
I remember hearing that too, and I'm like, whoa, yeah, you can't pass up that money. I mean,
especially Carl Anderson. He's got a family, just bought a new house in Florida right before that.
Yep.
So,
and I mean, for the tag team division that they're in or mid card scene, that's big money for them. So I don't blame them for taking the money at the time, but now they're kind of you're trying to make up for lost time with outside of WWE, and so it's. Like I said, I've just been like really just baffled that why we have not seen more AEW or Impact Wrestling have more of a presence on AEW's programming.
Exactly.
And I'm trying to think like, what can they do to salvage this and make it somewhat entertaining? Like, I feel like at the end of the day, like the only person really benefiting from this from AEW is just Kenny Omega himself, as far as just getting love from both promotions and people like us talking about it. And, he's starting to add to the belt collector gimmick now. I mean, so as you said, he has AEW World Championship. He has the Mega Championship from AAA. He has now Impact and the TNA Championship as far as, belts. So the 4 titles around him. So, I mean, it really just seems like it's just really just this whole working relationship is just to make him look like a bigger superstar. I'm like trying to think like, I was kind of hoping like maybe with the Good Brothers when their appearances were going to come, is this going to lead to like an Impact Wrestling invasion?
Exactly.
Or were we going to see more AEW stars appear on Impact and have more crossover matches on a regular basis? But no, it's been pretty flat. So I don't know, like, is there anything you wish you would see happen next to make this somewhat more of an engaging story for at least throughout the summer?
So I know Kenny's first defense of the TNA Impact title, whatever you want to call him, is going to be the Under Siege Impact Plus event. I want to say May 15th. That's going to be Kenny's first defense.
Okay.
And he's working the tapings this week for Impact. I think he's scheduled to do a tag team match and maybe one other match or something.
Okay.
And so we'll see who he's going to defend against. There's no real rhyme or reason. I mean, they might just do Rich Swann again. but why not wait and do Rich Swann at the next pay-per-view, which is Slammiversary in July, unless they got some big name coming in for Slammiversary to face Kenny Omega. Because in all regard, I would keep the title on Kenny Omega till at least the next pay-per-view, which is July. They haven't given a date. All they've said is Slammiversary this July. I assume they're waiting to make sure they know when the recent WWE releases are free. So we'll see on that.
That's the thing. I was just thinking, like,
right.
what's like, how long will he be Impact champion now? Because
I mean, what a better way to take the title off Kenny Omega than Samoa Joe show up
at Slammiversary.
They go, we gotta like. So here's the thing. They played up at the pay-per-view that Scott D'Amore is not happy with all this going on. So what if Don Callis is out there, Kenny Omega, the real world champion, he's doing all this great stuff, blah, 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 and Don or Scott D'Amore finally goes, you know what, Omega, I found the best opponent for you, but I can't tell you who it is. It's going to be a complete surprise until Slammiversary, and then he brings out Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe versus Kenny Omega would be amazing. Fortunately, depending on when, so WWE releases, those 10 people are free July 14th, which is a Wednesday.
Okay.
But technically, if, say, they do Slammiversary on the 17th or 18th, probably be the 18th, they can even finally announce who it is that Thursday show on the 15th. They can then say on that show, it's Samoa Joe. Then they build for 3 or 4 days. Samoa Joe versus Kenny Omega Slammiversary by the pay-per-view now.
I wonder.
That's the route I would go if Joe's interested. I don't know if Joe's interested.
Yeah, I mean.
But they used him in the promo like they did last year with the WWE releases.
I wonder, could at that point, because that's going to be a big deal, whatever, if that's hypothetically fantasy booking, that's the matchup.
Right.
Could they have fans in attendance for that just to really hit home how big of a deal this is? And
I mean, they can if they want.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because hopefully by July, hypothetically, you know, vaccines and everything, it keeps going well. I know here in California, distribution's been going really well and other parts of the country. And I think America as a whole is doing better than other parts of the world. So I would like to think positively that we keep this good momentum going and vaccines keep getting put out there to people. And, you know, we're at a point where we can have more people in attendance or live shows. I mean, I know MLW already promoted it this July. They're going to have shows in Philadelphia with fans in attendance. So it's, hopefully, if they're able to do that show, and if it's going to be a big matchup for Kenny Omega, like a Samoa Joe or some big free agent signing, hopefully they can have fans in attendance to really just hit home how big it is. Because Slammiversary is, I think, kind of Impact's equivalent to their WrestleMania. Am I right? Like, that's how they kind of view it.
To me, Slammiversary has always felt like the bigger show, but they always say Bound for Glory is their big show. They say Slammiversary is our anniversary, but Bound for Glory is our biggest show of the year.
Okay.
That's how they push it. Also, Impact runs in Nashville since, I want to say, if I'm looking at this correctly, since like February, March. The Nashville Predators have been running with limited fans in attendance.
Oh, okay. And I've actually been to that arena. I've actually been inside there for a Green Day concert. Total coincidence. So I've actually been inside. That's a cool area, that part of downtown Nashville. That
I'm going to say, I doubt they run Bridgestone for Impact, Bridgestone Arena. But that's just saying that, hey, Nashville will allow fans in attendance.
Okay, man. Now you got me just creatively thinking what I would want to see. But no, but yeah, it's like, but that's the thing. It's like, but still, this is for Impact Wrestling, and this is going to be for their pay-per-view. So, you know, I give them credit. They're going to try to use Kenny Omega to the best they can. But I'm just thinking for AEW, what should they be doing moving forward? I would hope, okay, hypothetically, let's say Slammiversary, Kenny Omega is going to be there and they have some big angle. I would hope there would be some more crossover on Dynamite. Like that's right. I see a lot of people criticizing now.
That's the hard thing. Yeah. If you're getting hypothetically Samoa Joe, he may not be free for that Dynamite before the pay-per-view. That's where you got to think about it too, depending on who they're getting. If they're getting one of these WWE releases like a Samoa Joe, maybe he's not free in time, which they probably wouldn't do it anyways. But saying that though, Samoa Joe is a big name, and Tony Khan would go nuts to have Samoa Joe on the show, even for 1 week, just to build something for somebody else. Just for him to say, I had Samoa Joe on my show.
Or what if, okay, hypothetically, I know we keep saying that hypothetically, but like, okay, what if, AEW, I think, would probably be the best spot for Samoa Joe to go. So maybe, let's say Samoa Joe signs a deal with AEW. He can do this one-off match under Impact's umbrella with Kenny Omega. So, but then at the end of the day, you will see Samoa Joe on a regular basis in AEW, regardless what happens in that match. Right. So, I mean, I could see maybe, I don't know if Impact, I'm just thinking out loud, like, I wonder if they have the budget to even afford Samoa Joe long term. AEW does, so I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe Impact could be like, hey, can you guys cover his contract, but can we borrow him for this one match with Kenny Omega? Right. But it's a lot to think about. So I mean, because what I'm thinking, because I was hoping to see Rich Swann at some point in the last few weeks show up and call out Kenny Omega. We never got that. I'm wondering now, like, what's something that could be cool is, like, maybe, Scott D'Amore is upset, maybe kayfabe, he could, like, send a bunch of his guys from the Impact roster over to Dynamite and, like, call out Kenny Omega and confront him and be like, hey, you took our title. You're not one of us. And maybe that can lead to, like, a 5-on-5 type of thing. I mean, I know they got Blood and Guts coming up already with Inner Circle and the Pinnacle, so that's kind of like...
Next week.
Yeah, that'll be next week, and that might be a little too repetitive as far as 5-on-5. But then again, they have so many factions there. Who cares? But at the same time, I'm thinking, maybe could it be Kenny Omega, Young Bucks, Good Brothers, square off against 5 guys from Impact Wrestling? They're kind of representing them like they're the OGs, or they're there on behalf of Scott D'Amore, something like that.
I found it odd that Willie Mack and Eddie Edwards came out with Rich Swann at the pay-per-view and then were just there.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything. They just stood out ringside. Like, why did they? I get the Good Brothers coming out with Omega because they follow him like his lapdogs.
Yeah.
But Eddie Edwards and Willie Mack, they're just like there. Didn't do anything. Didn't get involved. And that was really weird. It's like, why come out with them? I get it. Because Don Callis said nobody in the Impact roster cares about you, Rich Swann. Yeah. I guess that was to show that at least 2 guys do, but I mean, there's 2 guys right there. But if we're thinking who can challenge Omega as far as who's on the roster, not someone they can bring in, it's got to be either Eddie Edwards, which might actually be the first defense, I would say, at the Under Siege event. But if we're thinking Slammiversary, that would be what, Moose or Rich Swann?
I think Moose.
Looking at who's still in the company right now.
Exactly. I would think Moose would be the most credible threat to dethrone Kenny Omega, just obviously his size, how great shape he's in now, but also just what he's been doing is some of his best work with the TNA championship when he had it at the time. So
but honestly, Kenny Omega would really have to like cover that match a lot because Moose is still not that great. Like, Kenny Omega would really have to hold that on his shoulders a lot of that match.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's true. So we'll see what happens. Don Callis, he's been cutting some great promos, especially on Sunday. And I trust the powers that be creatively hopefully can come up with something. And, I think our biggest thing, and like everyone is just criticizing, is like, let's see some more crossover of Impact on AEW. And like, I think, was it you and I, or I'm trying to think who I talked about this with, but I think Impact in some ways should be like AEW's equivalent of like an NXT. And I don't want to say developmental, but like a spot where maybe people you see on Darker Elevation, if they need more ring reps or reps in the ring, send them to Impact.
That's exactly what I thought they were going to do when they brought Private Party over there, because everyone keeps saying Private Party needs more ring time.
Yeah.
And then they did 2 matches. But here's the other weird thing that has just popped into my head. AEW used Kenta to build up a New Japan match with Omega or with Moxley. They did the street fight on Dynamite with Kenta, and then Moxley went over, defended the North American or the United States Championship on New Japan Strong.
Yep.
So it's like, we know they'll let other people come onto their show, aka the Good Brothers and Kenta, but why didn't we see Rich Swann to help build up this match? I mean, Even Impact made Rich Swann feel lesser than Kenny Omega, because when they were doing the whole Kenny Omega on the bus stuff, there was a segment they did where Rich Swann was trying to go through some door, and they're like, sorry, you're not on the list. You can't enter this. This is only for Kenny Omega and his friends. And then he's like, I'm the world champion. What do you mean I can't go into this door? They're like, sorry, this is for the real world champion, according to Don Callis. So from then on, Rich Swann always felt inferior, like just beneath Kenny Omega.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's now I was kind of hoping like that could be Rich Swann's motivation to like, try to hijack Dynamite and appear on there and be like, hey, you think you're better than me? You're bigger than me? No, I'm a fighter. I'm an Impact champion. Right. Like, try to sell himself. But they already did. So even the buildup for this pay-per-view, like you and I, of course, we know about it and we cover this stuff and we knew to tune in. But I think for the average person, there wasn't a lot of hype or getting people a reason to tune in. So that's what I felt was kind of lackluster. So
yeah, Impact would have probably done a great pay-per-view number if Dynamite just plugged it a little more outside of the one small commercial.
Yep.
Like the 30-second commercial. And it was a 30-second commercial during a picture-in-picture break on Dynamite.
Oh, my God. So, listen, this is an ongoing relationship. It looks like everything, they're still going to work together, obviously. So this is an ongoing topic we can touch on from time to time and, just reflect on what's going on in the presentation. Right. So, but, we'll see how it goes, see what happens on Dynamite this week and Impact on Thursday. And yeah, moving forward, see what happens. So fingers crossed, we'll start picking up some, momentum and can kind of really engage the fan base out there. But all right, let's move on over to some of the highlights, from Monday Night Raw last night. And listen, my initial takeaways, I felt it was a better show than what we've seen the last couple weeks. The Raw after Mania, I felt was a huge disappointment. The following Monday just felt very repetitive. This one, we still saw a lot of the same faces the last couple weeks. Makes you speculate what's going on. There's some people who have not been on TV the last few weeks. Case in point, AJ Styles and Tim, I would love to know if you have any insight of like why we've been seeing a lot of the same people these last few weeks on Raw, and like the rest of the roster seems to have disappeared a bit.
All I know is there's been a COVID issue.
Okay.
I wasn't given any names. I think it was the Raw after WrestleMania, or maybe last week, actually. I was told, hey, a few people's COVID test came back inconclusive, which means they may have it, they may not have it, but we can't use them for safety reasons.
Gotcha.
I wasn't given any names, but you can see who's not been around.
Exactly. So, at this point, a year plus of this pandemic, I think a lot of people can kind of speculate, okay, we can just guess of like, okay, if certain people are not on in the last few weeks, maybe something's wrong. We hope everyone's safe and feeling better. But anyway, for this show itself, the Mason T-Bar situation. So, for anyone who's been watching Raw the last few weeks, we know obviously Retribution's done. Mason T-Bar seem to be kind of like just forming a tag team, just the two of them. We saw last week they got demask or unmask on Raw. And I like last week, that match seemed pretty stiff to me with Braun and Drew. Like they took the mask off and they slapped them, Mason T-Bar in the face with their own mask. And I was like, damn, like that was a pretty loud slap in the face. But this week they wrestled without the mask on, but instead they cut their promo and they got like red and silver little makeup. And I'm like, are they trying to be Road Warriors or Demolition inspired? What'd you just think of just kind of a little bit of this new look for Mason T-Bar with the makeup on their face now?
So the weirdest part of all of that, okay, I don't care about the makeup. Yes, they finally took the masks off. That's cool.
Yeah.
But there's two weird things with all of this. First off, they said they're no longer wearing the masks because they're their own people and they're not working for anybody else. Yet, didn't Mustafa Ali give them the names T-Bar and Mace? So they're still going as T-Bar and Mace. Plus, how do the announcers not say, oh, hey, that's Dio Madden. Remember when he did commentary on Raw for a couple months last year? And then Brock Lesnar F5'd him?
Exactly. Oh, my God. And, like anyone who watches NXT would know that's... Yeah, I mean, like, we know that's Dominik Dijakovic. And, like, I don't know. I mean, listen, to their credit, at least they're getting TV time. I mean, that's something to be positive about. But I like, is Extinction their name now? Because they keep referring to Extinction. Is that going to be their name as a tag team, Extinction, or?
Well, I don't know, because last week Corey Graves called them the Twin Towers.
I was going to say like Skyscrapers back in WCW. I was like, they're two big hosses out there. I mean, I like their look as these big guys, but so no, they come out, they take on what was it? Drew McIntyre. Was it Drew McIntyre first last night?
It was Strowman, because Strowman goes,
that's right.
Oh, you don't want to say thank you? I'll just go out there and beat him myself.
That's right. And then Drew comes out, and then Mason T-Bar ultimately pick up the win, and it's like they're celebrating, like, yeah, we got 2 wins in a row now, or 2 weeks in a row over those two guys. And then Braun Strowman hit the power slam on Drew, which ultimately led to the main event of the night. And then the main event, as far as the stipulation, if Braun wins, he gets added to the WrestleMania Backlash main event of Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre to make it a triple threat for the WWE Championship. Ultimately, Braun Strowman actually picked up the victory after some shenanigans. Of course, we saw Bobby Lashley earlier tonight cut a promo saying he doesn't like the idea of a triple threat because that's how he lost the U.S. Championship not too long ago. And, the overbooked finish. We also saw Mason T-Bar also get involved in the main event. But ultimately, Braun wins. Now it's going to be a triple threat. Anytime there's a triple threat, we just saw this, with WrestleMania, with Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan and Edge. Is Braun's involvement now in this triple threat? He's going to be the one to ultimately eat the pin here?
I would assume, because of how strong they've still kept McIntyre. I mean, McIntyre technically lost at WrestleMania, which you can say he didn't because he passed out and the referee just ended the match, called for the finish. So even though he's not the WWE champion, they're still trying to keep Drew McIntyre strong.
Exactly.
I would assume Bobby Lashley retains at, as Braun Strowman likes to call it, WWE WrestleMania Backlash. He's got to say the whole thing.
Yes. I'm with you because, like, okay, Drew McIntyre already lost once to Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. They don't want him to lose 2 pay-per-views in a row. So even though he's not the champion, they still want to keep him as a credible threat opponent for Bobby Lashley down the road. They want to keep Bobby Lashley have, I'm guessing, pretty long title reign, at least to maybe SummerSlam. I'm just thinking out loud. But so with that is, I'm thinking, okay, Braun Strowman is probably going to one eat the pin from Bobby Lashley. That way, Drew doesn't get a pin, doesn't win the title, but he doesn't look bad in defeat by taking a pin. So that's why I just feel like Braun, that's why he's been added to this equation. It's just to keep Bobby and Drew looking strong, respectively. So, I
can see it going down to, like, to keep McIntyre still looking good. He hits Braun with a Claymore. As soon as he gets back up, he takes the spear, and then Bobby pins Braun.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's, it's kind of interesting, we kind of see the writing on the wall, but I mean, I wonder, does that kind of devalues a little bit this match? Because we're like, oh yeah, this is kind of predictable what's going to happen here, but it is what it is.
I mean, I don't know if this is looking too much into it, but also when Lashley goes triple threat, that's how I lost the U.S. title. So I don't know if it's looking too much into it, but that right there is also foreshadowing of, they're not going to have him lose 2 titles within 3-month span the same way.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting just how this title reign is going to play out for him, because I just assume WWE is not going to allow any more major title changes, either WWE Championship or Universal, not until fans are in attendance. And I know there's a lot of rumors as far as when, they had the media or the stock that we call the business call last week. And, they're eyeing, was it early fall, maybe fans in attendance.
SummerSlam.
Or Summer. So, yeah. And I'm thinking SummerSlam. So I wonder if they're going to hold off any more title changes in front of just the Thunderdome TV screens. I think they'd rather save that for a live crowd. Am I right?
Here was something interesting that got tweeted this morning. I don't know how many of your listeners follow WrestleVotes on Twitter, but they're like a really big insider within WWE. They always got all the scoops and everything. And they tweeted that a major topic last night on Raw was the UFC pay-per-view over the weekend, running with, as far as we know, no problems at 100% capacity, 15,000 people in attendance in Jacksonville, Florida. And some in WWE say, hey, if they can do it, why can't we just bring in maybe not 100% capacity, but some sort of a real crowd now to the Thunderdome?
Interesting.
But the info that Nick Khan, the WWE president, said last week, as you said, in the investors call, was they're eyeing fall, most likely SummerSlam for that. And then the rumor was either Phoenix, Arizona, or somewhere in Texas for SummerSlam.
Okay. And that makes sense. Obviously, those states, their rules are a little bit more looser there, like Florida and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think for them, they want to hold off any title changes. They want that crowd reaction. So, I mean, I guess that's, in some ways, it's a good sign for Bobby Lashley, for the fans of his that want to have a long title reign. That's what we're going to get here. That's cool. So, yeah, anyway, in the meantime, Braun's going to be just the sacrificial lamb here as far as eating a pin for just this pay-per-view. And then still got a couple more pay-per-views until SummerSlam. So it's, they're just stalling for time, it sounds like, until Drew or whoever is going to dethrone Bobby Lashley at some point.
Basically.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it.
One other thing on the fans, it's, AEW has been running with fans, and they're going to try for Blood and Guts to have their largest crowd ever. I think the word is that they're eventually going to have upwards of almost 2,500 tickets on sale. Whether they sell them all or not is the question, but they're going to try for 2,500. Wow. Not expect it, but see how close they can get.
Oh, damn. That's going to be crazy. So that'll be next Wednesday. So, man.
I mean, the first non-AEW event that ran in Daly's place was last Friday with a Machine Gun Kelly concert that apparently did pretty well.
Really? Oh, my God.
Apparently, like, the Cons brought in Machine Gun Kelly to do a concert. They promoted it and everything. And, yeah, it did well, apparently. Apparently, a bunch of the wrestlers stayed and attended the concert, and there's a bunch of fans there and stuff, so...
That's funny you say Machine Gun Kelly and like AEW. I'm wondering he's pissed at WWE because he got powerbombed by Kevin Owens on Raw. He's like, screw you guys. I'm going to AEW now as well. I don't get beat up here. So yeah, that's interesting to see how this goes in the main event scene for the WWE Championship. Another thing I just want to touch on as well is Charlotte Flair, what she's been going through right now. It looks like last night, some kind of partnership, with Sonya Deville, who appeared on Raw, who she's been the assistant for Adam Pearce over on SmackDown, but she made an appearance on Raw, and her first order of business was reinstate Charlotte Flair. And Charlotte Flair, like last week, she beat up the ref. She was fined and suspended indefinitely, and then she's back 1 week later, so there was like no time off. And so, I don't know, how do you think this whole thing with Sonya Deville is playing out? Do you think Sonya Deville is trying to take power away from Adam Pearce on both shows now? Or will Sonya Deville run one show while Adam Pearce runs another? And then Charlotte is going to be like friends with her and going to get things thrown her way to benefit her since she is the opportunity. So, yeah, what do you think of what Sonya Deville and Charlotte Flair have in store?
So I don't know if there's going to be anything like a partnership between Sonya and Charlotte, but I thought that the most interesting thing of all of that was last night was the first time they have said WWE official Sonya Deville, not just Sonya Deville or Sonya Deville who works with Adam Pearce on SmackDown. Mm-hmm. They literally said for the first time that, and I'm like 99.9% sure this was the first time they've said it, WWE official Sonya Deville. So whether she got promoted or something and Adam Pearce didn't know about it, I don't know. But that is the interesting thing. Now we're seeing the tension between Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce. Some people are already saying Team Sonya versus Team Adam at Survivor Series. That's way too far away. Why would you even start predicting the Survivor Series now?
I know.
WWE doesn't even know what they're going to do for WrestleMania Backlash. They got 2 matches announced, but
exactly.
I think it's interesting. I'm really interested to see where this leads to if she is getting more power, because even we saw last week on SmackDown. I think it was last week on SmackDown. Mm-hmm. It was either last week or the week before when Cesaro said, "I want Roman." Mm-hmm. And so it was 2 weeks ago. He said, "I want Roman."
Yeah.
And Adam Pearce is like, "I don't know if I can do that." And Sonya just goes, "I'll go talk to him and see what's up." Mm-hmm. And then he ended up getting the Jey Uso match. Mm-hmm. And when she said that, Adam Pearce looked at her like, "You want to remind me you got that kind of authority?" Mm-hmm. Well, apparently she does, because she's now a WWE official.
And yeah, so it'll be interesting to see moving forward how this will cross over with SmackDown. So this could be a new storyline between the powers that be who, quote, oversee Raw and SmackDown. Is this going to be something ongoing on both shows or just one show? So it's, I mean, listen, I like Adam Pearce. So, anytime I can see more of him on my screen, I'm always cool with that. So,
right.
One last thing about just touching on here is Randy Orton. So listen, I think he's, on the outside looking in as far as the main event scene, the WWE Championship title picture. It looks like kind of this new storyline that's going to kind of keep him occupied for a while is this new tag team teaming up with Matt Riddle, or excuse me, I just should say Riddle. But so last week, Riddle got the big upset victory over Randy Orton. This week, Randy Orton confronted him and said, you won my respect. And then Riddle, because last week he said, we should be a tag team, RK bro. This week, Randy Orton followed up on that and says, hey, I think that might be something worth looking into. So this is, I'm guessing, what Riddle's third makeshift tag team, because Randy Orton, before that, him and Jeff Hardy were somewhat a thing for just a couple weeks before they just... before that just fell apart quickly. And then keep in mind, NXT... him and Pete Dunne were a thing before the pandemic, which was very entertaining, I thought.
Tag team champions.
Yeah, NXT, they won the Dusty tournament, and we're champions. I really enjoyed what they were doing, just the odd man and the straight guy, straight man voice persona. But so here we are, Randy Orton, Riddle teaming up. They got a victory over, let's see, I think it was Cedric and Shelton Benjamin. Which,
how far those two have fallen.
I know, dude. That's what I was going to say was, like, okay, they've been on TV every week, more or less, even though they've been kicked out of the Hurt Business, but they've just been eating pins here. So I'm like, I feel bad for them. I mean, they're credible as far as their former Raw tag champions in the last couple months, but now they're just jobbing out to other guys in the last few weeks. But what do you think about, just Randy Orton and Riddle teaming up together? I think one announcer, I don't know if it was Graves or Saxton, was like saying, don't trust Randy Orton. He's going to turn on Matt Riddle very soon. It was Graves, yes.
Because when Riddle got in the middle of the ring and did his pose after the match, Graves just goes, all right, here comes the RKO. Wait, huh? No RKO?
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, Randy Orton asked to work with Riddle.
And, like real talk, I mean, that must be a good sign for Riddle that Randy Orton, a veteran, a legend, soon to be Hall of Famer one day, handpicked to work with Riddle here. So that must set a lot for what Randy Orton believes in Riddle and, what he's been bringing to the ring. So, backstage, that's a good sign for Riddle. Am I right?
I know Vince is really big on Riddle. Vince thinks Riddle's hilarious. Triple H did too. There's a lot of times in NXT where Riddle would get a promo and be like, this is at least what I heard. And he would be like, I like it, but let me add this to it. And Triple H goes, you do it my way, I'll let you do it your way. And 99% of the time, I was told, they ended up going with Riddle's way on TV.
Nice. And those fun stuff. I mean, I love those vignettes and the video packages with him and Pete Dunne traveling on the plane and all that stuff they were doing pre-pandemic. And it's unfortunate, I think the pandemic kind of cut things short because remember Pete Dunne, he couldn't travel, right? And that's why Thatcher filled in, if I remember correctly, and it just wasn't the same. But Riddle, depending who he teams up with, he's going to be the goofball, and then the other person's going to be more the straight arrow person. Exactly. Yeah, who's going to be just kind of reacting to them. So I hope this can last for a while. I mean, it's Randy Orton. You would assume at some point he's probably going to turn on them at some point, but I'm willing to ride this out, watch it for the entertainment value. And like I said, I think this is good for just Randy Orton to keep him busy, occupied, since he's not involved in the title scene right now. And he kind of doesn't have anything else going on. So are you in favor of just Randy Orton just doing, it's been a minute since he's done a tag team, if I remember correctly.
I'm trying to think when the last time Randy was in a tag team. It has been a while, but I'm excited for this, especially since for the news that Orton asked for it. Mm-hmm. Because we've seen times when Orton gets a storyline and a feud or something, and he's just phoning it in. Yeah. But I think since he asked for it, he's going to actually be in favor of, I don't want to use this word, but I'm going to say it, try and actually do well instead of just like whatever it.
Be invested.
Like the Edge stuff. We saw when he was doing the Edge stuff, he was all for it, given his best stuff. So I hope that because he wanted to work with Riddle, he's going to go out there and give it his all. Because we see there's two sides of Randy Orton. There's, I like what I'm doing, I'm going to give it my all. And there's, oh, this is what they want me to do. I'll just do my best to do my best, whatever.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too, because even, with Edge, if I remember, it was on Broken Skull Sessions, Randy Orton said he really felt that was some of his best promo work. So, yeah, when he's invested in a storyline, he will give it his all, and it really would stand out. And so, yeah, as you said, if he picked Riddle to work with, this should be some good stuff. And I think last year, Randy Orton, it was some of his best work ever, just between pre-pandemic and, the shows they had on at the Performance Center and then Thunderdome. I mean, it was some of his best work in his entire career, and that says a lot for his longevity. Oh, yeah. So I'm excited. You see what him and Riddle could do together. It should be entertaining, and it should be, some good stuff here. And just, Riddle, I don't know if I said this publicly to anyone, but he just reminds me of the kid. Do you remember Home Alone, the movie in the early 90s, Macaulay Culkin? Oh, yeah. So remember the neighbor who kept coming over and was asking all these random questions, very annoying. I feel like Riddle is playing that character, like Home Alone. So I told my brother that. I was like, he's like the kid from Home Alone here. And so we both laughed. So anyway, it's just, I'm looking forward to that. That's some of the big takeaways from Raw. I know there's a lot of other stuff going on, and, we'll look more into it later. Mm-hmm.
One last little Raw note, which it doesn't tie into this week's Raw, but you said, where's almost AJ Styles and stuff been?
Yeah.
First appearance of the new Raw Tag Team Champions has been announced for tomorrow on the Bump, Wednesday, April 28th.
Oh, wow. Okay, so their first interview
together. We've seen them since WrestleMania on any program.
Wow. Okay. No, I hope both of them together, and I like their chemistry together so far. So I look forward to seeing on the Bump what kind of fun shenanigans they can do together on that show. So
right,
it should be cool, man. So listen, Tim, I know you got a busy day of other stuff going on. So I just want to thank you for making the time today. So as we start winding down here, please remind all the Kliqsters out there how they can follow you and just keep track of all the great work that you do.
For sure. Thank you for having me on. I'm available anytime you want. I always have fun talking to you about wrestling. But if you want to follow us for Wrestling Unlimited, of course, the main way is to go to our YouTube, youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited, where we post daily news videos up there. We also go live Mondays for Raw, Tuesdays for NXT, Wednesdays for AEW Dynamite, Fridays for Friday Night SmackDown. Then we go live also. We do live podcasts for all the AEW pay-per-views, all the WWE pay-per-views. You can also follow us on Twitter at PW Unlimited. That's another great way to contact us, interact with us, and so forth. And then if you want to just follow myself, you can follow me everywhere at Timmy Buddy.
That's awesome. And I'm Baby Huey. Of course, follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey83. For everything else, at In The Kliq. Subscribe to us. Also on YouTube and social media, inthekliq@gmail.com. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. Leave a comment. Rating, share, it all helps, especially with all the crazy algorithms out there we got to keep track of. And get the merch as well. Click the link in our bio. So on that note, let's go home. And that's the bottom line, because Huey said so.